Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Sadly, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate for a cure for all those still battling today and their families because we all hope and believe that no one is ever alone in this fight for a cure. Today's guest is someone who is really incredible, inspiring, and I hope to not just call him friend, but really family in this fight for a cure. He has done so many incredible things that I still can't do, even if I wasn't, who I am or where I'm at, even though right now everyone knows I'm in a boot because I had ankle surgery, but that's for the next show. So I wanted to welcome Justin. I have fun. We're going to have not just a lot of fun, but really change the world for so many listening. And really, I felt alone as a caregiver. Shockingly, my mother never met someone in 15 years with Parkinson's. It kind of hurts because now, through you, Justin, and so many of you listening, you've really changed my world and inspired me to keep fighting. So, again, welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. I really appreciate that. And thank you for everything that you're doing for the Parkinson's community. Yeah, it really is sad that uh, there's not more awareness and there's not more people out there talking about Parkinson's disease. So I'm just happy to do what I can.
Well, I really appreciate what you do. I'm going to let you tell everyone what you do, but there's certain things you're involved with. They're not just unique, but special. And some of the people actually that you work with, you might not know, but are my family. And I'll talk about them later. But Mark Millo is one of my best friends in the world, and so many others that, again, we could probably talk for many hours on it. But you are all not just leaders, but such inspiration, and a lot of what you do is behind the scenes. And that's kind of why I'm not just honored you're here, but also thankful that you gave me the opportunity. It's not easy to find some of you incredible people, but if you come to know me, I have a really passion for this. And I always say the only thing that really breaks my heart today is the story or the journey that I'm not aware of. And then when I learned about you and Kilimanjaro, which I'm going to have trouble saying that this show, but just some of the beautiful things that just was so excited, and I still am. So maybe you could tell everyone listening a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2016, I was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease at the age of 31. And at the time, I'd had symptoms for probably about 2 to 3 years, but I went to my general practitioner to start, and I had videos of the tremor that I had in my hand that was one of the first noticeable symptoms. And later I found out there were other symptoms prior to that, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And I showed him a video of this tremor in my hand, and I said, I think it's just stress. Like I'm, starting to get into my career path, and I think I'm just super stressed out. So, I need to find something for anxiety. And he took a look at the video and immediately said, "That's not stress. We need to get you to a neurologist." So, whenever that happened, of course, I went to Google and immediately tried to diagnose myself like any other American would. Um, but through about 2 to 3 years of being misdiagnosed, I originally got diagnosed as having a form of epilepsy called a focal seizure. So they diagnosed me with that, and I was put on medication, wasn't allowed to drive for 6 months. And at that point, the grind of trying to figure out what exactly was wrong started to get to me. I became clinically obese. I dealt very heavily with depression and anxiety. And over the next couple of years, it just got progressively worse until I ended up going to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And I ran into Dr. Isaacs, who performed every due diligence test under the sun. And on June 27th of 2016, he came through the doors and said that I had Parkinson's disease. Um, I was really happy to get a diagnosis that was medically as close to confirmed as possible. The DAT scan that they did showed the asymmetrical dopamine levels in my brain, and then they followed that up with the carbidopa levodopa testing that I responded phenomenally well to the medication at that point. So it was really humbling, the entire experience of getting diagnosed, but I was happy at that point to have somewhat of a path forward. Um, I had the 3 hour drive home where I just pretty much ate Dairy Queen and cried the entire time. But that's all part of the process, just kind of dealing with it in your own. But since that time, I've really tried to go through and advocate for individuals with Parkinson's disease. I've Held fundraisers. I've helped raised over $150,000 for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And in 2019, I was approved to have deep brain stimulation surgery. And since then, it's been absolutely life changing. I got my health back in track. My mental health is a lot better than it ever was. And I'm happy to say that I'm not on a single pill, and you can't even tell that I have a tremor. So it's worked out very well for me. And I've just tried to make it a point since that time to do what I could to raise awareness for Parkinson's disease, because I was lucky. I had a phenomenal doctor. I had a wonderful support staff. I have, a wonderful family that supports me all the way through. And we were able to find a solution that worked for me. So I want to use my, relative youth and, capabilities to try to promote Parkinson's in a different way, which is why I get into a lot of the endurance challenges like 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. Doing crazy stuff like summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, and then I have some other crazy stuff on the way that I hope to be. I hope it's going to actually take place within the next couple of years.
Thanks for sharing that, but I have to remind you, what you probably don't need, that you aren't so inspiring to so many out there. And it just means the world to be able to talk to you, because you also do, again, inspire me. And back to the DAT scan, it's interesting. Wonder what your thoughts are on people, or someone like me, because my mother obviously had PD, and I don't have symptoms, at least I don't think so, but I'm actually going to go for one. And
Hmm.
I'm just curious because I've had some weird stuff going on here. It's been shaking for months, and then I think it's more stress, and my hand is kind of gone, but probably from I work
Yeah.
too much. But what do you? I know we can't prove yet that genetic, but a lot of people we've had on the show that have a history, like generation now, Parkinson's. So, what do you think people who aren't diagnosed yet, or just wondering, because if they have it in their family, should do? Should they go for testing, or you think they should just kind of not think about it? I'm just, out flying curious what your thoughts, because I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the best approach for anyone in life is to get as many answers as possible. Um, I was lucky to have the university, or the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, pretty much within a 3 hour drive. They have a phenomenal institution. If you have access to great clinical care, I'm always for getting the testing done. That way, you're kind of being more safe than sorry, and you're getting rid of a lot of other, potential causes for whatever side effect or symptom that you might have. Like with mine being the tremor, um, it was really easy for me to go and just be like, hey, like, here's what's happening. What do you think it is? But there could be some other symptoms that pop up, especially with Parkinson's disease before that, like mood changes, or not being able to speak as um, not being able to speak as, have the pronunciation be as clear. And with me, one of the first symptoms that I kind of go back and realize right now is a lack of being able to sleep. Like my mind's constantly going and going and going, and that's one of the symptoms of Parkinson's that I didn't realize that I was actually having. So I say, if you have the means and you have the desire to go get tested, everybody would benefit from that. And I mean, if you don't have it and you have something else, then But all the testing in the world, basically, that just kind of helps out those people that do have Parkinson's, and then another generation of people that could be diagnosed later. If people are getting the testing, then there can be more diagnostics done. There can be more improvement, and there can be more, just more improvement in the entire process. So the more repetitive memory that the doctors get on doing the testing, the better it is for everybody.
I appreciate it, and I agree. I just, it's hard because you never know, what to expect, and now I'm all paranoid. So it's probably just myself. Next thing I want to do is, first, we have so much to cover. I hope we can get to it, but I do hope this isn't the last time, because I think this conversation has to continue until we find a
Yeah.
cure around the world. Some of the things I have a passion for, really, you cheering me up, which you don't realize through social media. So I'm going to just share a few things, and I do want everyone listening to please support Justin and all he does. First is, you might have touched on it, but the Parkinson's Foundation. How did you kind of become aware of them, and the council? And maybe you could, I think a lot of these things are kind of not secret, but for some odd reason, a lot of people just even are not aware of them, and that's why I like to kind of spotlight it and talk about because you're all doing such incredible things, but I want the world to also know.
Yeah, so with the PPAC committee, the People with Parkinson's Advisory Council, um, there was an individual that has since passed in my local community, Alan Zimmerman. He was in the People with Parkinson's Advisory Council. He ran a local support group here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I started doing fundraising, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, like I'm also doing fundraising in the area. Let's combine everything and let's see, what all we can actually get done." And just through having conversations with him and helping his support group with a lot of back end stuff like helping with web design because that's what my college degree is in for communications and marketing. I just tried to help them out as much as possible, and we just kind of got talking over a good period of time. And he thought that having somebody younger on the advisory council will be good for them. And I kind of took some fresh ideas into the advisory council, and then ended up having to drop out of it due to the deep brain stimulation surgery. I wasn't able to really juggle both of them at the same time because you're put up for a pretty good amount of time with all the testing that you have to do pre-DBS. But the advisory council, it just enlightened me to all of the different facets of Parkinson's disease, really. And actually, as of this past week, I don't know, I don't even think you probably know about this yet, but I'm actually going to be partnering with the Parkinson's Foundation once again. And in 2026, I'm going to be operating one of their DIY programs for fundraising and hopefully going over to Nepal and summiting Mira Peak at 21,400 feet. So I'll have more stuff coming about that later, but I'm happy to work with them again because I think it's a tremendous educational foundation that really is starting to move toward a holistic approach of mixing young onset with more traditional onset and trying to figure out new and improved ways to communicate more with people with Parkinson's disease because it's kind of a fragmented community in being able to gain information.
I appreciate it, and I'm gonna be worrying about you now when you're going on your next venture. So you're gonna have to really, I'm gonna be like texting you, making sure you keep me posted. Okay, but a lot of these individuals mean a lot to me. Obviously, I mentioned Mark, but Vickis will be on the show, and also Ripley and Greg's been on. So it's just a beautiful community, and also there's a lot of amazing things you've done. This is back in 2023. And just, I don't, maybe you could, I don't even know where to start because this is not something someone kind of wakes up and just says, I'm going to climb any mountain, let alone this one. This is a legendary one. And also, you've gotten some important coverage. And the reason I love that is you might not be aware, and some of you listening are, I've written 15 letterhead. I'm a lawyer and a police and professor. I'm trying to make it fancy to all the major, TV stations, and I'll name NBC, CBS, and it's just you don't get a response. And all I want is the world to be aware of Parkinson's, and this is really what does it. What you're doing. I don't think I can join you one, but I will watch along and support you, and I hope everyone else does, and also donates to the cause on your behalf. But can you tell us a few things? What made you wake up that day and decide you're going to do this climb, and what's it like, going through it, and then probably afterwards too.
So I'll start by saying this, and I'm going to say probably one of the more controversial things
I
that's ever
love
been said
controversy here.
on your podcast. Parkinson's disease saved my life. It really did. I was not in a good way. I was starting to fall into alcoholism. I was depressed, anxiety, like I had a lot of anxiety, and Parkinson's disease really gave me my purpose. And I kind of equate the whole Kilimanjaro trip back to high school. I had a chemistry teacher who presented this project idea for us, and it was to write down 100. This was before there was a bucket list challenge.
Mhm.
Um, he asked us to write down 100 things that we wanted to do with our life. And like any high school student, I'm like, yeah, finish 99 more of these, finish 98 more of these. And that was what I did for about half the list. And then I got down to like the final 20, and I started thinking more critically about what I wanted to do with my life. And one of the items on my list was to summit a 20,000 foot mountain. What stuck 20,000 foot in my head, I have no idea. But I kind of just left that there. I still have the list sitting up in storage, but I literally woke up one day and I'm like, you know what? I can do this. Let's see if anybody's out there doing the same thing I am. And I went to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Team Fox website, and saw that they had a trip for Kilimanjaro that was about 2 months out. I'm like, you know what? Why not? Signed up for it. They approved me, and I trained for all of about a month, did the fundraising work, and ended up summiting later that August. So it was a very quick turnaround. It was actually one of those things where I did wake up one day and just decided I wanted to summit a mountain.
Wow.
And I I kind of get like I get a little bit in my own feelings about it because um whenever you're doing something of that magnitude, you don't realize how it's going to impact you. And the entire time I'm sitting there thinking, I could be, doing all these things for social media. I could be taking all these awesome videos, doing all these awesome pictures. But whenever I got up there, I thought, this is truly a remarkable experience. I'm doing this for all of the right reasons. So one thing I am going to try to do is just turn my phone off. And I just gained so much clarity from that and so much just I was just invigorated. And what ended up happening was I just turned off my phone the entire time. And whenever we were on the summit day, about 18,000 feet, I looked out over the Serengeti, and I just had this epiphany moment that this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm meant to do. So that's how come I'm still trying to go out there and summit mountains. I'm trying to get out to Guatemala this year to do 3 volcanoes, and the next year I'm finally going to hit that 20,000 foot peak.
Oh, that's amazing. And also, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that's why I left it on this one because it's beautiful and the
Oh,
memory I got. Yeah.
you can thank my very good friend and sister, well now sister, Joanne Simmons, for taking that picture. I kind of goaded her into it. She was really cold and really tired and didn't really want to take a picture, but she did it for me anyway. She was just somebody, that I met in passing through the Team Fox experience. She was doing the exact same summit that I was. She was on the same team, and now she's just a lifelong family member for myself.
That's amazing. Yeah, and also I like how you do work with so many incredible organizations, not limiting just to one, but this is more about some of the amazing work with Michael J. Fox Foundation and of course Team Fox. And I'm not, did you went in 23, I believe, or is this
Yeah,
just, so this is one of the, obviously everyone knows Mount Kilimanjaro, there are movies about it. So
yeah.
glad,
So
glad
there's
you're still
Alex.
with it.
There's Alex. He was one of my first tent mates, and Laura. She
Oh,
she was just absolutely phenomenal to
mhm.
hike with.
Yeah,
There's me. Yeah.
that one's a nice, not in the snow. I'll take the ones without the snow. And
Um,
actually,
that that is
she'll be on the show this year. She's
yeah.
joining us.
I love Lucretia. She's so positive, and she was up there leading the pack every single day. She was the first one right behind our team lead at 67 years old. She beat us all up there,
Oh,
and it's just hard to not succeed whenever you have somebody that's just so full of passion leading the way like that.
I believe she was they just had the Disney, run, and I
Hmm.
wanted to be to support them because I'm not able to run right now, but it's amazing, the reach and how everyone just really comes together for these important areas. Also, please follow all Justin does on X, and I'll share this in the notes so you don't all have to write it down. But one of the best things I think, and hopefully he'll agree, is the TikTok, because thankfully we still have it. I was kind of, we just met recently, and I was so excited because really enjoy a lot of what you do, and you have a huge following, and then it was going to be gone away, and it was kind of heartbreaking because I don't really, but a year or two ago, I never even heard of TikTok or cared. But then I saw how beautiful this community is on there for Parkinson's world, and how many people like you have just become really family with because of things like that. And you would never think, TikTok, this is used for some wacky stuff, but it's also for so many important positive things. So maybe you could take us a little journey on your social media, and everyone please go to ETSUVOL and follow and support Justin. But again, I'll share this in the notes.
Yeah. So yeah, randomly, it's another thing. Like I woke up one day and I heard about this new app just after the pandemic. So like I had went and had my deep brain stimulation surgery done in 2019, and I think I finished it up in October was the final surgery. And then you're requested to stay in bed for the next like 2 to 3 months, or just stay inside because you can't get any sweat or other, stuff around your around your incision site. So I pretty much stayed holed up until the pandemic happened. And then during the pandemic, I, went and looked on this new app just to see what all the craze was. And I downloaded a video and it immediately went viral. It was that one right there where um, I hadn't eaten a bowl of cereal in 7 years, what I would do. And a lot of people with Parkinson's disease will find, ways just to get around. And what I would do is I would have my cereal in a cup and I would just eat it out of the cup. That way I can hold it close to my mouth and not spill anything. So this was legitimately the first bowl of cereal I could remember having since probably high school. And people just, kind of gravitated toward it. And, I've, parlayed that into being able to provide some more awareness for individuals with Parkinson's disease. And it got to the point where it was getting covered on Yahoo, Reddit. It gets featured on X every now and then to the point where even Elon Musk has tweeted about it before. I've had multiple celebrities reach out, and it's just been an amazing experience. And it does really show the power of community and being able to get that community just in different ways. So while I understand that TikTok might be a security concern, for people like me, it is highly important to have this platform to, just be able to show your daily life and show how you're getting around, showing what you're doing to, make the world a better place. So I try to just go through and, live my life in a positive manner and show people that no matter what, what's thrown in your way, you can always just get over that. You can always get over that hump.
Side note, sushi is my favorite food, so I'm glad we have a lot in common. That's one of them. But I do again encourage everyone to join Justin on TikTok, and again I'll add that so you can have the link. And just not just fascinating, but so important. It's interesting, there's a lot of people who aren't on social media. Unfortunately, a lot of the younger people aren't. But I want them all to be able to learn about the things that you're doing, and also just be encouraged by the leadership skills and things that you're accomplishing, and to show that no one's alone. So thank you again for that and all you do. Wanted to now move a little bit to a little bit more about you. And this is, I always joke and say it's the fun part of the show, but I hope the whole thing's fun. But can you
Oh
list,
yeah, blast.
can you list three words that describe who you are?
Um, Adventurous, funny, and I'm a dreamer. And I'll say dreamer just because I'm one of my best friends in the world. Whenever I was going through a really tough time, she said, "You're a dreamer. Don't let that weigh you down." And that always just stuck with me. So I try to stick with that.
It's beautiful. I appreciate it. And is there, I know you mentioned a few, so it's tough maybe to get one, but is there one moment or most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work with advocacy that you can share?
It was getting to the summit of Kilimanjaro and knowing what I had accomplished with the cards that had been dealt to me, and doing that with strangers that turned into family, and having a reason for doing it that it just inspires me over and over again to this day.
And you said DBS helped tremendously.
Mhm.
99.9% of the individuals we've had on who had it actually has agreed. So it's amazing. And it's important to talk about because I know my mother, this was about 10 years ago, was kind of feared it. Technology and medical science has improved tremendously. But I just feel bad if anyone kind of heard from people who aren't aware, or maybe make misconceptions just hearing about it and not really making the time to really speak to someone like you. So that's
Yeah,
really,
and
I appreciate what you do for that.
yeah, and one thing I try to instill in people whenever I speak about deep brain stimulation or or medication, um, I'm by no means a doctor, and I fully advocate on doing what's best for you.
Yeah.
But I would actually implore a lot of people that are diagnosed young onset to look more seriously into deep brain stimulation surgery, just for the sheer fact that with the surgery, you're reducing how much medicine you have to intake right at the start. So for me, um, being a younger individual, trying to go through the whole business of starting a family, raising a family, having to maintain employment, the thought of doing that with having to take this medication, it just made me feel horrible all the time. It didn't seem like a good life for me. And then whenever you get into taking carbidopa levodopa for an extended period of time, you deal with the side effects of that. So I mean, for me, it made all the sense in the world to be uncomfortable for a few months and have years and years and years of quality of life behind that. So I would implore anybody to research your options. Don't just stick with the first option that's given to you. You have to really advocate for yourself.
I agree. Also, we still are not sure what happened the last few years because my mother was only 69 and everything just kind of, accelerated so quickly and aggressively. And I do think it was the medicines. I think either they weren't provided properly or they weren't given the right amount. And we can't look back, but I do appreciate, different alternatives and just being open to those things that are out there that weren't 10 years ago. So thank
Yeah.
you. I like to stop the whole show, so we stop. That's it. That's my stop. I wanted to, you're kind of the face now of this advocacy and TikTok, but I always like to stop for a moment to thank those behind the scenes that we don't really see, but that are there supporting you 24/7. And we wanted to send our love and support to them. So maybe you can tell us who helps you during times of struggle.
Oh, I mean, it starts first and foremost with my wife and my daughter. They're bedrock for me right now. I could be having an absolutely horrible day, and like just having them around to support me and tell me, it's going to be all right. We'll get through it. That just means the absolute world. And I have a very strong group of friends here that support me in all my crazy projects that I try to do, and they encourage me to be the best version of myself as I possibly can. So my friends, my immediate family, they just provide me all the support that I could ever ask for. And my dad and my mom, they were there from day one. My dad's the one that drove me to the surgery, and I stayed with him afterwards. And it's just been tremendous to have that level of support.
Well, again, we send our love and support to them and thank them for supporting you so you're able to do what you do today. This is a fun one. You might actually create a TikTok after this, but if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you name it and what actor would play your role?
Oh, what actor? Oh, wow. I always thought that the title of my self-written book would be Summit, um, or Pebble was another one, and I reference that back to the Muhammad Ali quote of, "It's not the mountain ahead that wears you down, but the pebble in your shoe." And I've always kind of carried that quote with me through my Parkinson's journey, so it'd be either one of those. As for an actor, and Cillian Murphy, probably. That dude is just he's amazing. I love him in Peaky Blinders, so that I would have probably have to go with him.
Thank you. This is a fun one I just created this morning. I did spontaneous, but you ever had like a burning question in your own mind that you wanted to ask someone about Parkinson's that you just never had the chance, or is this question just wacky?
I'm I
Like, there's
always
got to be something that, every one of us, no matter what, whether Parkinson's or not, you just have this one thing. You're always curious, and we're open here on the show and we tackle tough topics, but I'm always curious for all the guests. Is there something you always wanted to know that you just haven't gotten the answer to yet?
no, like I nothing that's too funny, but every person that I run into with Parkinson's, I always just I have this itch to ask how many pills a day they're taking. But I realize that that's a very inappropriate question to ask, but like I always just want to kind of like compare it because I remember how bad I was on like so few pills. And I just want to be like, so how many are you actually taking? Because you're holding up quite well, and I did not. And I just kind of want to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And unfortunately, when my mother passed, one of the toughest things, obviously, would do was to clean out her home. And I had five of those huge contractor-sized black garbage bags of her medicines, and that was like horrifying. So that's why, since I'm not a medical doctor, I just feel that something didn't go properly or prescribed or something. But it's just, it's tough because the doctors are trying, and I don't blame the disease, but
Yeah,
way too young to not be here today at 69, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I
So,
agree.
and then what would the theme song of your life story be? Now we're moving to music. We got to cover all the big topics.
Oh man.
All right.
Um,
This is the Barbara Walters section of the show.
let's see here.
You are allowed to pass,
No, no, I never pass on a
do
question.
not collect one.
I would probably do "Joy of My Life" from Chris Stapleton. I just love that song.
It's great. And as we wrap up, and again, I try not to say the final question because I do hope this conversation continues. And I would joke and say when the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave after we close today, this topic doesn't stop. We can't stop because we still have a lot of work to done towards a cure. But, what are some of your hopes towards the future for awareness?
Just more understanding. I think Parkinson's still gets lumped in as an old person's disease. Um, but younger and younger people are getting diagnosed every day. And what's happening with that is where there's just there's this gap in advocacy for people that are younger. You see more and more of it online. Um, but what I'm seeing is whenever people are diagnosed young, they're afraid to say anything about it because they're worried about what's going to happen with them professionally, what would happen in their daily lives at home, um, what would their friends think, what would their family think, would they be treated any differently? And what I try to do with my advocacy is really promote that you don't have to be treated any different. I can still do the same things that everybody else does, and I could probably do half of them a lot better, half of them a lot worse, but that's just how life works out. Um, so what I really hope to push forward is this acceptance of younger people with Parkinson's disease, and then just to continue to fight to raise money to eradicate this awful disease, and to build that awareness, and then help out with, government legislation for individuals with disabilities, because I think that's another huge gap that isn't properly identified within the United States, at least, is really making sure that you're taking care of the people that are diagnosed young onset. um, just providing them with some type of recourse and some type of resources, because in the United States, functionally, if you are diagnosed with a debilitating disease and then you have to go on disability, your life's over. And that's just the sad truth of it. There's no programs out there to help people specifically with young onset, and you have to make decisions for yourself whether you want to live you know, you want to live a more normal life, or if you want to save up money for whenever you're not going to be able to, maybe not necessarily provide for your family. So just continuing to push that narrative that, there's a large group of people out there that really don't have anybody speaking for them. And I'm trying to fill that gap.
Well, I really appreciate it and all the advice and your time. I usually end with, but you kind of touch on it, but if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Find your summit and keep climbing. Everybody's going to have um, they're going to have different goals with their life, but just because you're diagnosed, don't stop on trying to achieve your goals. Give yourself time to, heal your mind, heal your heart, heal your body, and then get back to doing what you really wanted to do, because it's all the time we're given. Yeah, we're given a pretty, bad lot. We're given a couple of extra hurdles that we had to step over, but there's no reason you can't step over them.
Well, I really appreciate that also. And it's interesting, just recently in the news, how important, rock climbing or even mountain climbing has been for individuals diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's kind of becoming as big as like pickleball things. And it's like a wave around the world for this. And I always joke, and I went once with my wife when we were dating to one of those little rock climbing. I lasted like 1 minute. And that was it. And I kind of worked out my life, but it's a different thing. So someday I hope, I can join you up there, and you'll be end up having to carry me and you. So they, but I
Well,
just,
if you come with me to Mirror Peak, then we can just helicopter back down. It'll be all
oh,
right.
yeah, nice. Anyway, I can, it'll be an honor and really, so that changed my life. So again, I really wanted to thank you for your time. I do have a little message for you, Justin, and everyone listening. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Justin, will advocate for you, and together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always say I'm just getting started because obviously, and unfortunately, I've been doing this for 5 years, but we all have tough days, like Justin was saying, where maybe we think we might have to give up, but then kind of look to TikTok oddly and see Justin and see him still fighting and see how he's conquering so many things that just fascinate me, and I admire you. And I think you're a hero, and all of you are out there by not giving up and standing up, voicing, what you're doing. It just means the world to me and so many. So thank you again, Justin.
I
Uh,
appreciate that. Thank you.
an honor. And thank you to everyone for listening. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon son George. Please stay tuned. Please share this. We just want the world to be aware of what's happening and things, even like, climbing a mountain can change your life forever. And the most important thing is please support Justin and Parkinson Foundation and also Team Fox, and now in the future, donate and help him because, it's going to definitely help when he wants to go out there on more ventures, and I'll follow along from home because I can't even last. It's cold here in South Florida, and that's not even imagine that anywhere else. So thank you again, Justin. Thanks everyone. We love you. Please stay tuned. We have so much more to come. And remember, Justin and I will not stop advocating until the cure is at everybody's doorsteps around the world. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.